Hi, before we get into this video, I do want to just warn you guys that there is some content that may be triggering to some viewers. Warning, we will be diving really deep into this rehab story. It's Priscilla's story, and I really don't want to cut out any parts of it because this is her life and her experience. So I'm just going to let you guys know we are going to be talking about sexual abuse, suicide, substance abuse, things that she witnessed in this rehab that she was forced to be in. I don't like to censor someone's story because it's their genuine experience. Other than that, if you're new here, hi, my name is Amanda Ray, and we are going to be discussing Priscilla's story. If you watched Escaping Polygamy, Priscilla is my cousin. Priscilla escaped on Escaping Polygamy with me. You can watch the whole episode. Maybe I'll leave the link in the description box down below to Priscilla being put into rehab for 3 months and then contacting us to help her get out of the cult. So she gets out of rehab and then she has to get out of the cult because they were trying to marry her off to her cousin. Anyways, long story long, right? Priscilla's going to be diving deeper into the whole rehab experience. There is some moments where you hear noise in the background. It's Priscilla's daughter playing in the other room, so just don't mind that. I do advise before watching this, maybe watch some of the other content that I've made with Priscilla. I mean, you could watch it afterwards as well. For those of you who don't know, she was babysat at my mom's house ever since she, what, you were like 2 years old? I'll show a picture. Yeah. Also, we did do an interview with Jacob Swanson, and he was admitted. Jacob Swanson is our cousin from the order, and he also was forced to go to this rehab facility after Priscilla. He shares his story on my channel as well, and I will leave that video in the description box as well.
I see this building we're going to, and my first thought was, okay, they're going to have me talk to another order member, and they're going to tell me all the wrong things I'm doing, everything I should do different. And so I was like, okay. So we go in park, and I see this guy I've never seen before waiting out there, and I'm like waiting for you. Yeah.
Like and subscribe, and be sure to find Priscilla's YouTube channel as well in the description box down below. Part 2 will be on Priscilla's channel. Okay, thank you guys, love you guys. Okay, bye. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Amanda Ray, and today we have my cousin Priscilla here. You guys have seen her talk about we've had a lot of videos together. We did one where you were talking about your story. Part 1 is on my channel, part 2 is on your channel. And we talked a lot about how she was forced to go to rehab because a lot of reasons, but the main one was you didn't want to marry the person that they wanted you to marry and you were trying to leave.
Yeah.
So we never talked about what happened in that rehab facility. So today we're diving into everything that happened while she was there for 3 months, right? What the entry process was to get into the rehab. Like, was it like prison?
I mean, I feel like some aspects were like prison. Like, I obviously didn't walk in handcuffs, but the 2 people that brought me there kind of brought me to the door, and then they switched me over to the people that worked there.
So they were like hanging on to you, and then they
passed like
you
somebody
off?
Always like had their arm on me, like holding my arm, I mean. So it was like a staff member and then one of the kids that was going there, but they were at a higher level. So they basically had us watch each other.
So when you're getting admitted, this guy has his hand on you, and then a kid that was in rehab had her hand on you?
Yeah. And I remember she's like, so your name is Priscilla? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like crying. I'm like,
aww.
And she's like, does anyone ever call you Pri? And I thought she said pretty. I was like, I guess. But then she kept calling me Pri, and I was like, oh.
Was that her way of like being endearing while you're bawling? You're like,
well, it's weird because once you're there for a while, you kind of, that's just your life now. As soon as you get there, they bring you to this bathroom. You have to take off all your clothes. They give you like a towel. I think.
Did they brief you on, okay, Priscilla, so this is what you're gonna do, put all your stuff in this box?
So no, not a box. They handed me this letter from my mom. And they're like, so this kind of explains why your mom had you sent here. I'm sure you already know, but this is just in her own words, like why you're here basically, because when you get there, you don't get to call anyone, you don't get to talk to anyone, not even your parents, because they're scared. It's so weird. They're scared that you're going to convince your parents to let you out, because that's what would happen a lot of times. Like a child would talk to their parents and then their parents would pull them out, and they didn't want that to happen. So for the first like week or two, you don't get to talk to them at all. Wow. And you just meet with your therapist.
So all the kids that get admitted get this letter from their parents saying, this is why we put you in there.
Yeah.
And it almost sounds like it's supposed to be kind of like a breaking point. Because did you like receiving this letter from your mom?
No, I was like, fuck that. I'm just kidding.
You're like ripping up the letter?
I was like, I don't care.
Do you want to read it? She showed me this. I didn't even read it, but...
I didn't read it either.
She didn't even know... You never read it?
No, I read it when I was there, but I haven't read it since. I got this letter in 2014. Wow. Because I left in 2015.
Dang, that's the year I got married. I was 18.
Yeah, so literally 10 years ago, I got this letter from my mom. Let's read it.
Shall we?
So she said, "Dear Priscilla, I know you are probably really upset right now, but I just couldn't give up on you, not while there is still one more thing I can do. I care so much about you, and I've been worried about what will happen to you if you are on your own. I've been wishing so badly that I would have gotten you counseling when that man did what he did to you. We all need to talk about things sometimes to get over them and move on with our lives. I know this place can help us to become closer as a family. I'm so looking forward to the time that we can talk together openly and honestly with one another. I found a quote I was going to send you someday, but I'm going to write it now. Begin quote. You spend years wishing your parents would get off your back, only to realize they're the ones who ever really had your back. End quote. I don't know who wrote it, but it is so true. All of the times we didn't see eye to eye, we were only looking out for you, and we only want the best for you." Oh, and then there's like this part of the thing is disappeared because of my tears thing.
Aww.
And then she said, "I hope and pray that someday you will have the desire to do what Heavenly Father wants you to do with your life, and that you will understand how much we love you, or you wouldn't be in this place. Remember, Jesus died for us that we might be forgiven if we truly repent. Nothing is impossible with the Lord. I know you will learn to love yourself, and in turn you will learn to love others. I am so thankful for all the miracles that happen in our lives each day. I am so thankful for all the blessings I have been giving. I always count you as one of them. I love you so much, Priscilla."
The part that bothers me is like there's some good truth nuggets in there. It's kind of like how Paul was, though. Like he would have this truth and then he would feed it with manipulation, where that whole "we have your back," has she had your back since you chose to actually try to love yourself? No.
And honestly, I feel like as I was reading this letter, part of me felt like she was writing it for the facility to look at, because they're like if I was reading this letter written to somebody else's kid, I'd be like, they love her so much and she's just on the wrong path.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like it literally, as I'm reading it, I was so mad because it literally felt like, I don't know why I say it all these years, but it literally felt like it was just her writing it for somebody else.
For show. Did she do stuff like that a lot? Like in front of people, she was a different person, and then behind closed doors, she was...
I mean, yeah, like growing up, everyone was like, "Oh, your mom is the best," because she was a teacher as well. And I was like, no. And then
you don't know her like I do.
I remember my cousin, who was like in the same grade, she stayed the night at our house one time. And a lot of traumatic things happened, and she went to school the next day and told everyone, and she was like, "I'm glad your mom's not my mom."
Wow, so she basically watched your mom just be the crazy person she is at home.
And she was like, "Oh, never mind."
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people have that in the order, because your reputation kind of matters more than who you are as a person.
Yeah.
If you're a decent person or not.
Yeah.
Okay, so she gets you into rehab. They have her send this letter. They basically make you get naked with a towel around you to like...
Yeah. So they give me the letter, and then they have me, like, you're supposed to take everything off, and then you have to take a shower, and they have you like stand on one leg and jump up and down to make sure you're not... Yeah. To make sure you're not hiding anything.
So you're
down
just, like...
there. I was like, what are you guys talking about? Because we've never been exposed to anything, so I'm just like...
And what would I be hiding? Yeah.
Right.
But that must mean that other kids have hid
dang. Because I asked that question too, and she's like, oh, like, you know, sometimes people will hide phones. I'm like, how does a phone fit in there? I was so confused.
Like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
So they took everything, all of your possessions then?
Yeah, they take all your possessions. They make you take your makeup off, your nails, everything.
What if your nails are like this? They cut them off of you?
Yeah, so they clip them down, and then they just like...
File them?
I mean, they're obviously not going to tear them off, but yeah, they do everything that they can to... Because you're not supposed to like worry about your appearance. And then you have to literally put your hair back into a founding father's ponytail. You know what I'm talking about? Like you can't have a part anywhere. Like, you can't worry about what you look like.
George Washington. So it's all about, like, not caring about your appearances. Did they have mirrors? Did they not want you to look at mirrors?
I mean, they had mirrors, like, in the bathroom, yeah.
Okay.
And then, so after that, then they brought me to like the big group room, and everybody was having, it was like a PE time, like everyone was playing Foursquare or whatever. And, my cousin was there.
Oh, really?
And I was like, oh, like this isn't going to be as bad because she's here. And that's the thing. I knew she was there, and that's how I knew where I was going.
Right.
Because
so this is the cousin, for anyone who doesn't know, it's the cousin that went in beforehand because she was she saying she didn't want to be in the order and the polygamy and all of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that she wasn't doing what her parents wanted, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, so she had been in there for how long at that point?
Like a few months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she disappeared, and I remember asking, because she was supposed to be in somebody's line for their wedding, and the girl kept asking me, she's like, where is she? And I'm like, I don't know. So I called my aunt, and she's like, oh, she's just on vacation at a friend's house. Like, just, it sounded so sketchy, and I'm like, okay, because she wasn't responding. And I was like, because she was very competitive, and she would have never missed softball. So I was like, no, she's not on vacation. I was like, I don't think she's telling the truth. And then this guy that she was kind of seeing at the time reached out to me, and he was like, hey, like, have you heard from her? Do you know anything? And I was like, no, I don't know anything. So he
reached out to me too. Did you know that?
Really?
Me and my husband at the time. And so then we started kind of freaking out. And then I feel like within a day, he figured it out.
Yeah.
Because he was, like, dedicated to figure out where she was at.
Literally a few days later, he was like, so I followed her parents, and they went to this place, and, like, I saw her. Like, he knew where she was, and he was, like, trying to get signs to her to let her know, like, he was out there, and, like, he was trying to help her or whatever. But the facility knew that he was doing that, so he wasn't ever able to, like, get close. But yeah, so he had told me where she was, so I'm like, I knew exactly where I was going when these people showed up at my mom's house to take me somewhere.
Yeah. So you see her in the Foursquare room with everybody else, and you run up to her and like, hey.
Well, I was gonna go up to her, and then they're like, oh, you're not allowed to click with her. I was like, what's clicking? And they're like, basically, you're not allowed to talk to her. You're not allowed to stand. Like, if you're both in the same Foursquare line, you have to be, I can't remember how many people apart, like 3 or 4 people apart. Because, like, they don't want to even think that you're trying to talk to each other or trying to, like, you can't even make eye contact with them.
Why? That's your family.
They call it clicking.
So you and her just had to pretend you didn't know each other?
Yeah, so basically when I walked in, they're like, do you know anyone here? And I was like, yeah, that's my cousin. And they're like, okay. Because they check to see if you know anyone else before they tell you. Like, if you know anyone, you can't talk to them. Yeah, so I was like,
great.
And but then I'm like, also, I just got here. I literally do not care about your rules, so I'm gonna still try it. But then she was like further along in the program. She's like, I cannot like go back in the program.
So she wouldn't talk to you?
Yeah, and she said that she like, I mean, we talked about it later, and she was super upset. And then we actually ended up being able to talk. They would do school in there because everyone was in high school, but we had already graduated.
Right.
So
Penn Foster, for anyone who doesn't know, a lot of the underage girls, they would pull them out of school, or they would just be in homeschool their whole life, and then graduate from Penn Foster online school so that they could get them married quicker.
Yeah.
And less, I honestly think it was to have less education. They don't care for the women's education.
Yeah.
So.
Well, they would do that with even the boys, and then the boys would, like, when they're 15, go to college.
Right. So the boys did go to college when they graduated Penn Foster, but did you see a lot of the girls going to college?
Daniel's girls, mainly.
That's
Daniel
true.
and, like, I feel like the main brothers' girls, I wasn't allowed to go to college because they were scared that I was going to leave. Because I was.
And they were right. So they were going to high school, and there, did you guys just have to, like, redo high school with them?
No,
or?
So we got to sit in a different room with a staff member, and like during that time they would let us like play board games together, and then we could like have a conversation, but we couldn't talk about anything from home. We like, it would literally be like having a conversation about the board game. Like
You
we
couldn't talk about anything in the past. And wow.
And they also had this rule like that you couldn't there no talking behind backs. So I could never be like, oh, Amanda this, like blah 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 blah. You could never talk about somebody if they were not there.
Wow. So I feel like that feels dehumanizing. No? Did it feel a bit like you just had to sit there and like push away all of your emotions and be like, so do you like chess?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I feel like us being in that place really hurt our like friendship a lot, because that was my best friend growing up. And because there was this one thing when I first came in, I was like, my parents only sent me here because I don't want to be a part of their cult, and I want...
Oh, you told them
Yeah.
that?
And I was like, they want me to marry this old man. And then because my grandma told me that one of my dad's half brothers were wanting to marry me, and she was like, your parents think it's a really good idea too. And I was like,
your biological dad's half brothers?
Yeah, and my stepdad. They're all
that's
half
true.
brothers.
For some reason I was thinking full brother for a second. So I was like, your uncle?
No.
But so one of your half uncles, they wanted you to marry. Okay.
Yeah. So my grandma told me that, and so I'm like, they want me to marry like this old man, right? I'm like saying it like, yeah, this is the reason, and I'm literally telling them all about it. And one of the guys that were in charge of the thing, he was like, and listening to me, and then they asked my cousin that was in there, and she apparently asked her mom, and she told everyone I was lying. Yeah, she was like, you're lying because I asked my mom. I was like, okay, well, your mom doesn't know everything about me.
Yeah.
But I was just like, okay.
Oh,
and
that's
then
frustrating.
we did end up I had a therapy session with my parents, and then they were saying I was lying too. I was like, Grandma literally told me, and they're like, well, we didn't say that. I'm like, okay, well, you still wanted me to marry
my cousin
yeah. before, but okay, sorry, I'm lying.
That's so annoying. Did you bring up the cousin thing at all?
Yeah, but that's the thing too, is in the beginning, though, I did lie. Because
So that's probably why they thought it was
because they told them. Yeah, so they're like, because they did have a little bit of proof for some of the stuff or whatever. But anyway, so basically when I went in there, they said that I was an alcoholic, I was addicted to sex, and I was suicidal.
Wow.
And that's the thing. I was like, I've never even tried alcohol in my life, but I did.
At that one party? I remember we talked about it.
Yeah, so I tried.
But that's not an alcoholic.
I know. But I was just like, no, never. I hung out with this lady that used to work for Jacob and her family. Because she was close to the people that helped me find the safe house. So I went and we went camping like at the sand dunes, and one of her sons was like, you want to try this beer? I'm like, sure. And that was gross as well. But I told my sister about it, and I guess she told my parents, so they had like that for proof.
You're an alcoholic. You've been drinking beers and stuff.
Yeah, because she was like, well, I understand her thing, because if I was in that mindset still, I'd be like, you're drinking. You drank more than once. Like, you're scared.
You're an alcoholic.
Yeah, so she, like, I think that she was scared that I was going to go down the wrong path. Because you know how when you hear about people leaving the order, suddenly they're a drug addict on the street. Yeah. So I think that she was just, like, scared about that. So she told them. And then, so there was that. And then they found my phone talking to my little boyfriends. You know how, like, sometimes you text about something, but then, like, when you get in person, you're like,
that was Patricia.
No. What are you, blind?
They had, like, my text from an old phone, and then they, like, obviously I was suicidal.
Yeah.
But
that was by their own part.
Right,
they partook in making
because of you guys. Because you won't let me leave, and, like, you treat me and everyone else like shit. When they asked me the little questionnaire, they're like, have you ever had suicidal thoughts? I'm like, no, what is that?
What is suicide? Is that what you said?
Yeah. So.
I think it's also hard to even say that, because I couldn't even talk about what I did in the order as like suicidal actions. I couldn't even talk about that for like a year or two later to my own siblings.
Yeah. Because
it's like so hard to put to words what it was too, and to understand. Same with like abuse. Well, I didn't know it was abuse. My parents just hit me sometimes.
Yeah.
So they're asking you these questions and you're just like, no. And you could also be disassociating too.
And that's the thing. Like, I was like, if I answer yes to any of these questions, they're gonna make me stay. Like, I really I was so delusional that I thought, like, obviously they're gonna see that I don't need to be here. Yeah. So, and because I also had a court date for my emancipation in 5 days.
Did you tell them that?
Yeah. And they're like, okay, well, we'll look into that.
And then they looked in, and then they just looked out of it.
I really thought, like, they're gonna let me out. They're gonna let me out. Why would they keep me here? What I realized super quickly is that, like, literally everyone says, like, oh, I shouldn't be here. Like, I didn't do this. I didn't do that. Whatever. And they did.
Yeah. So how are they gonna believe that
they're just like, yeah. Anyway.
So the cult thing didn't ring a bell for them?
No, because so I think I was the third person to go there.
From the order? Okay.
And the first two, well, obviously, like, my cousin was still in there at the time. But the first one worked, and she went back and married her sister's husband and did all of that. Remember?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And she eventually left the order because she
didn't want to.
She didn't want to be there.
Forcing her to marry her sister's husband.
Who
was also their cousin.
Yeah.
More than cousin, I think. Because isn't his parents related too?
Probably, yeah, I think so.
So they were trying to force her to be the second wife of her sister's husband, and she wanted to marry someone else. And then I guess they forced her into that rehab. They made him divorce his first wife so that he could legally marry her because she was underage.
Yeah, so she would be tied to him.
Yeah. So then that was the first one, and then the second one was your cousin, and then you were the third one.
Yes, and so I got a different therapist because they had like 5 4 or 5 therapists in there, and there were two girls and 2 guys, and she had one of the girls and I had the other girl, who I feel like it was a mixture of things. So she saw through their facade easier, but I feel like it's because my cousin's mom, at least, is so sweet. Like, she comes off so sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And she actually, like, did care about her daughter. And if she would have still left, she would have still talked to her, right?
Yeah.
Whereas my mom's like, yeah, if you leave, like, you're not my daughter.
Which is crazy because they're sisters. Her mom and your mom are sisters.
Mm-hmm.
How did they turn out so different? So interesting.
I do remember my aunt saying that she always, or that her dad, like, always beat them up, so she was never gonna hit her kids, and she was gonna be, like, super sweet to her kids, right? So that's what she got from her childhood. And then my mom was like, she saw her parents fight, and she's like, I never want a marriage like that. So she just bowed down to her husband, but then she's like, hate those kids, though. Yeah.
You were saying one time that you weren't allowed to be alone, even. You had to have a bathroom buddy, even.
Yeah, so you kind of always have to have somebody with you, especially, so when you first get in, you're on shoulder, so you don't get to have shoes, and somebody always has to have their hand on your shoulder for you to stand up. So you literally have to sit there until somebody comes and puts their hand on your shoulder, then you're allowed to stand up.
Because you're gonna run away or something?
Yeah.
And what are you gonna run to? The broom closet?
If you get caught, like, trying to run away, then you get put on double shoulder. You have to have 2 people
on your shoulders?
One on each side, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So first you're on shoulder, and then once you go through, like, the first motions or whatever, I think it takes, like, 2 weeks, but you have to, like, apply to, like, move up, and then people will vote on if you've been good enough, basically, and you're trustworthy enough. No. Yeah, so
I feel like I would never get out of there, because I'm like, this feels like narcissism. Like, I'm gonna put my hand on your shoulder, you naughty girl. Like,
yeah, so
I would just, ugh.
And that's the thing. At first, I'm like, I'm not doing what you guys say, but then you realize so quick that you're like, oh, they're gonna keep me in here until I do what they say.
I'm never gonna get out of here.
So, yeah. So, I feel like everything that they do, like, all the little things, it literally, like, forces you to
submit
do exactly what they want, just like the order. So, yeah, so you start on shoulder, and then you apply to be on shadow. So you will still have somebody watching you, but they don't have to physically touch you.
Mm.
And then, and that's, like, if you're participating in group enough and, like, telling your stories and giving feedback, and they also did this thing. So I think for your first week there, your parents don't show up to parents' night because they don't want you to sit there and try, like, they basically want to break you down enough to where you don't dare, like, you know the rules enough and you don't dare to, like, ask your parents to let you come home.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the second week that you're there, your parents will be invited to parent night, and it's like this little program or whatever, and then everybody goes off to their parents, and you have somebody, so I would be considered, like, a newcomer because I just came, and then an old comer would be the person that watches me. So it would either be an old comer or one of the actual staff, and they would just sit there the whole time and listen to your conversation with your parents to make sure you don't say anything that you're not supposed to say.
What's something you're not supposed to say?
The only thing you're supposed to do for 7 minutes straight is apologize.
So you can't say anything else?
No. So I'm sitting there being like, I'm really sorry that when I was 7, I did this. Because you can't just be like, I'm sorry for this, I'm sorry for that, and then just sit there the whole time. Because if you're not constantly apologizing and saying something, then they're like, okay, looks like you're done, and then you get sent back. And you obviously, like, want interaction with
your family,
anybody that's not in this freaking place, right?
Yeah.
So
what if you're like, I'm sorry that I smashed my stepdad's ugly ass picture?
Yeah, then they'll be like, okay, your time's up, and then they'll literally escort you away. You cannot say anything wrong at all. You can't be like, I'm sorry I did this, but it's because, like, you can't say anything besides, I'm sorry.
This whole process just feels like it's to break you.
It is.
It's like another cult.
It's literally to break you down slowly until you start, like, being exactly what they want. Yeah. And that's the thing. Some kids there had been there multiple times, and I'm like,
okay,
why didn't you run away from your house?
Yeah.
Just kidding. Don't do that. I think it was a Mormon-owned facility because everybody that worked there was Mormon.
But the kids weren't?
A lot of the kids were.
That's what I was going to ask, was religion ever something that was talked about or enforced or...
Yeah, so they obviously, like, did the 12 steps, and they said you had to have a higher power. They're like, we don't care what it is. Like, it can be God, it can be whatever, but you just have to have a higher power.
To pray to, or...
Yeah, or to, like, you have to, like, submit to your higher power, whatever the freaking 12 steps say. But you have to, like, just have a higher power. Like, think that there's something higher than you so that you stop making your shitty choices. I remember there was this girl in there that was like, Priscilla's my higher power. I was like, okay. Anyway, why are you so obsessed with me?
What was the age group? 15 to 18? Because you have to get out at 18, right?
Yeah, so you can age out, work the program, and get out earlier. But there was a 13-year-old girl, and it was so crazy because she went there voluntarily because she said she was, like, having suicidal thoughts. And then she's like, yeah, I'm done with this. And they're like, no, you're not. And she's like, what? Like, they wouldn't let her leave, and she was like, oh no. Because I think that they made her feel like, yeah, like, you know, when you don't need to be here anymore, you can leave whenever. So she just thought that, like, one day she could be like, yeah, I think I'm done. And they were like,
she's like, I'm gonna head out.
joke's on you.
They put the hand on her.
Yeah, they're like, I'm gonna hold your hand while I tell you this. But she was the youngest one, and then there was, like, 15 to, like, 17, almost 18.
Can you imagine you're 13 and you're going in and out of there your whole 5 years of your teenage years?
And that's the thing. I think she had gone to, like, different treatment centers. She did, like, outpatient for a while, and then she did inpatient.
Wow.
I was like, why did you choose to be here?
Maybe her at-home life was weird.
Yeah, could be.
What was the sleeping situation? Did you have to have, like, a bunk bed, a bunkmate?
So there were 4 beds in each room. And at first, so there would be an old comer, like, in the first bed, and then the 3 other beds would be, like, the ones that they watched over.
Okay.
Because obviously, like, if you're gonna run out, you have to, like, run past them. But then also, if your door opened, because there was a button to push, like, if you needed to use the restroom, and then the staff member would come and, like, buzz the door and let you out. But if you just open the door, this loud alarm would just go off. So they knew someone was trying to escape.
And then did that happen a lot?
No, I feel like it was only a couple of times, but it was always when somebody, like, tried to commit suicide or something like that. So,
whoa.
Yeah. We used to be able to wear pants and long sleeves, but then a boy tried to
hang
himself with his pants off of his bed.
Oh my gosh.
So we had to wear shorts and short sleeve. So we were all super embarrassed, obviously, because we couldn't shave. So we had to, like,
Aww.
and the girls and the boys were separated, so, like, they didn't see our hairy legs, but we're just like, at least me, I was like,
yeah. Okay, so they were mixed, but you never saw the boys. They were, like, on the other side of the building.
No, so we were mixed for, like, groups and stuff, and that's the thing. There would be, like, a main group, and then for like an hour, and then we would go to like separate groups. So there was like Survivor group that I was in. There was like a separate group for girls and boys. Like, so there were just different groups where you talked about different things basically. So if you were in Survivor group, it was like if you were sexually assaulted in any way and
so
stuff
then
like
you
that.
would be in a room with boys too,
yeah,
talking about that stuff. See, I knew we had to do a full episode on this because there's so much because I wanted you to paint a picture, because I'm like, there's so much that I want to know about that, because it feels so prison-y.
Yeah. What's crazy is, so even if you try to, because I thought about running so many times, but all of the staff members would run like marathons, and I was like, why work here? Go away.
Oh.
Yeah, they all would like just run, and I'm like, the most I could run is from base to base in softball. Like,
that's it.
As far as I can power run.
Had anyone escaped while you were there?
Yeah, one girl. One girl escaped. And there's just blood everywhere. And she steps out, and she just had like oh my god, I'm gonna cry.